They say that everything is big in Texas. And if you're talking about the population, big is just going to get bigger. In the next 50 years, it's predicted that the population of Texas will double. That means 46 million people will call themselves Texans. And those Texans will need water. So far, the estimates of population growth seem accurate.
Our projections are tracking. In 2007, the state demographer issued 2006 actual populations. Our projections were only a little over 1% off, but we feel like we're on track.
The Texas Water Development Board is the agency charged with statewide water planning. Every 5 years, they compile a state water plan derived from 16 regional planning groups. The last one was released in 2007.
There are numerous strategies in the plan, and they range from water reuse, reusing the water we currently have as much as we can before we return it back to the rivers and streams. Desalination projects are also included in the plan, new reservoir sites, also simple ways like just contracting for existing water supplies or connecting water supplies. I think a mix of strategies are going to be required to meet that demand in the future. We show increased need for water as early as 2010.
Water planners often speak of measurements in acre feet. A football field is about the size of an acre, so an acre-foot of water is a football field under 1 foot of water.
There is no doubt that the 2007 State Water Plan has progress in water conservation over the previous version of the plan. As an example, in the 2002 State Water Plan, there was a total of a little under 100,000 acre-feet of municipal water conservation in that plan. In the 2007 plan, it's up to a little over 600,000 acre-feet, and that's a lot. That's a lot of progress. But by our calculations at the National Wildlife Federation, we think there's about 1 million acre-feet of additional water conservation that's achievable right now based on the technology we have today, based on what's already been accomplished in San Antonio. You build a reservoir, it's out there all the time, but you may only need it 5 or 6 years out of every 50. It's incredibly expensive to manage water that way, and so in cities, a huge amount of our water use goes to water lawns. And during these serious drought periods, we really have to give serious thought to whether it makes sense to be building this expensive infrastructure to supply water to keep lawns green even through the most serious drought when water's in short supply, as opposed to really limiting that use, saying, you know what, we're not going to keep our lawns green during these really serious drought periods.
No state water plan is perfect. Every 5 years, planners make improvements and adjustments. Work on the next one is already underway.
I think what we anticipate in the 2012 State Water Plan, several regions are looking at how to best incorporate drought contingency planning to a greater extent. We're also going to see updates due to the growth that has exceeded our projections in some of the metropolitan areas. They're going to be looking for additional supplies. An expanded discussion and look at uncertainties and risks, such as climate change, could have on implementation of our strategy.
How climate change will impact water resources in Texas is unknown, but scientists have made some sobering predictions. Dr. Gerald North is a distinguished professor of atmospheric sciences at Texas A&M University.
What we're going to expect in Texas, based upon the modeling work that was done in that report, is that Texas will be quite a bit warmer as we go through mid-century. It may be a few degrees Fahrenheit warmer than it is now. That doesn't seem like very much, but in fact, it's enough to have fairly large effects on our countryside and ecology and so on. So the rule of thumb, if you look at regions around the world, that works pretty well, is that where it rains a lot, it's going to rain more. Where it doesn't rain much, not going to rain as much. Probably somewhere about College Station, Bryan, I-45, maybe it's I-35, to the east of that line, probably more rain. To the west of that, we probably can expect it to look a little bit more like Arizona than it does like West Texas, so virtually no rain. So drier where it's already dry, wetter where it's already wet. My guess is that, we're going to be piping a lot of water around in the next century.
The impacts of climate change are still debated by some, and there is even less agreement on the root of its causes. The Texas Public Policy Foundation promotes free markets, private property rights, and limited government.
Global warming is a remarkably complex issue. I don't think it's a real threat. I think it's a very important issue that the state needs to, and the nation and the globe needs to address, but I don't think we have any of the absolutely settled science or any of the kind of really factual demonstration that man is causing a slight observed warming in global average temperatures.
The projections suggest that these periods of drought will be all over the place, drought and flood. The fluctuations will be larger, wider fluctuations, and last longer. So that's what the models say. Well, now how certain are these models? Well, I think that some of these results are pretty robust. We've been seeing them from the past 5-year reports, and now we have a lot more confidence we're still seeing the same persistent patterns. So that makes me think that we'll be having more of the same, more of this trend that we're seeing already.
I think that the observed warming and the science is plausible enough that there are a variety of prudent things that the nation should do. We need to use all global scientific resources to determine if greenhouse gases, particularly carbon dioxide, in the upper atmosphere is in fact assuming a warming role. We don't have data on that. We have a very complex, sophisticated model that predicts human-induced carbon dioxide is driving the observed warming. On the other hand, I think many of the things we should do are what this state knows how to do very well because we have regular, very serious droughts.
A lot depends on actually how we humans react to this. And my own feeling is that we'll be pretty slow to react. Probably one of the scenarios that is going to be the most realistic is one where we don't do very much to mitigate this, to curb our carbon dioxide emissions until about mid-century. Then we'll come to our senses and get busy, do something about it. We have our work cut out for us. It's not going to be easy to meet the challenge, but of course Texans rise to these occasions. I think they will.